The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. To get yourself sweet perks such as early access to all of our episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more, head over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers today and consider lending support to the show. Without further ado, let's hop into the show. Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 149 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games. Hold up, are we seriously almost at 150 episodes? I'm your host.
I was thinking the same thing, dude.
By the way, dear listeners, Adam's back again. He didn't disappear for a month. Like he kind of, I'm not going to lie, dude, you kind of put me in a bit of a panic attack at the end of the other episode. And you're like, oh, I'll see you in 3 months. I'm like, please no. Please no. Not that trying to get guests on was bad or anything. Yeah. It actually worked out pretty well, but it's just, you know how it is. You get used to one thing and then it's
comfort food. Yeah. It's comfort food.
I just don't.
We're used to each other. We've been doing it. We lived with each other, all those things. It's just comfort food. You ain't got to try on some things. So when it's me and you, it just comes.
Exactly. Plus, I also just don't deal well with change. And so it's a character flaw, I guess. I don't know what it is. Anyway, dear listeners, hello and welcome to the show. As always, you know, we got to start off with a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the show. And the housekeeping for this episode is just bringing up YouTube again, okay? And this is kind of a cool moment. It's very serendipitous, I would say, that I'm going to talk to you about YouTube, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thereformedgamers. We hit 300 subscriptions literally just minutes ago before we recorded. So blows my mind. Thank you guys for subbing to that. Hopefully you hit the bell icon so you get notified when we put a new video up. But seriously, no, thank you guys so much for that. Thank you guys for the love and support of the Super Metroid series that we got going on. Dude, it's cool. It makes me giddy.
That's nice, dude. It's growing.
Yeah. And I didn't think it would, but no, it is. People, it's amazing what you do when you upload a few videos of kind of like an older retro themed game that everybody has great memories of, and then they're like, "Oh, Logan's playing this for the very first time to beat it." Wow, that's okay. So yeah, it worked out really nicely, and I appreciate the support you guys are giving us. As always, Super Metroid's got 2 new episodes up as of last week. The week that this episode comes out, there will be another episode. There might be 2 actually, because I'm just trying to finish the game at this point. Because I'm like, it's not that I'm not enjoying it. I am. It's just I've stretched this out over like almost 2 months now, and I'm ready to be done with it. Like I need to get on to some other games. So youtube.com/thereformedgamers. Go subscribe, hit the bell icon, enjoy that content. Other thing I want to mention is our website, thereformedgamers.com, finally fixed. See, when we moved to a new design or layout, whatever you want to call it, there was supposed to be this thing where you could feature certain articles up at the top, and it makes the website look really nice and really modern. And I couldn't get it to work for the longest time. And then I finally sat down the other day, did some work on the back end of the website, and managed to get it to working, managed to make it look good. And so you guys can go check that out at thereformedgamers.com. There's a lot of articles up there, show notes to the shows, things like that, links to our YouTube content. Put a new section on there talking about the podcast, breaking it down, like where you can listen to the show, how did the show start, the whole thing behind dear listeners, because we get asked that a lot. I mean, not a lot, but we get asked that question enough to where I'm like, we need to put it on there. And so thereformedgamers.com, go check it out. Enjoy all that goodness. Speaking of goodness, we're going to be talking about our favorite games of 2019 this year. So that'll be coming up a little bit later. If you guys did not manage to get your responses, that's the word I'm looking for. Words are hard. If you guys didn't manage to get your responses in on Twitter, that's okay. Go follow us at TRG Podcast. I'm going to be trying to do that a little bit more often when we do these kinds of episodes. So twitter.com/TRG Podcast. Follow us everywhere. Keep up with us. All that fun stuff. All right, enough of me talking. Let's get into the show. A little bit of what have we been playing. And man, dude, so pre-show, Adam put this game on here that I'm really looking forward to him talking about. So, man, it looks like we're going to be talking a lot about the same game. So we might just kind of talk about everything together, I guess, with the exception of one. So, dude, light it up. What you been playing?
Yeah, so I'll hold that one off for a second to let them think what could it be that Adam's playing. If you're on my PSN, you've probably seen the game that we're talking about. But I've
It's
been
Farming
playing.
Simulator.
Yeah, I've been dabbling in some different stuff, trying to find times. I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I've got to, because my gaming time is more limited. I've got to be finding a way to make sure I'm progressing and things. And then the other night,
Yep.
Hannah was playing The Room on the iPad. I'm like, I'm going to get into some VR because I haven't really got to play much VR since we moved. So I dabbled in some Firewall, Zero
Hmm.
Hour, and I played a little Beat Saber. Dude, have you tried some of those most recent downloadable songs, the free ones?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah,
They are
dude.
so hard.
They're hard, but they're good.
Yeah, they're
I
good. Like
love
they're
them.
hard on medium. Like I tried to do some of them on hard, and I'm like, I'm not
Yep.
even close to finishing them. And even on medium,
Yep.
they're like crazy hard. I'm like, this is wild. I was having some issues with camera tracking, but it is what it
Mm.
is. But yeah, I've been playing some different games. I've been playing Days Gone on PS4. Now I know when it came out, it got a lot of grief, but I'm enjoying it.
Hmm.
I think probably a lot of the things, the bugs, the issues, they've kind of got ironed out. I think with I think they added fast travel. I don't think some of that was initially in there, but I've enjoyed my time in
Hmm.
it. Man, when you come across a horde or you're trying to clear out nests and stuff like that, it
It's
reminds me some
terrifying.
of like Resident Evil. You never feel like you have enough ammo. And you're like, am I
Yep.
going to be able to get rid of these? Is my axe going to break or whatever? And so, I don't know. I'm in the second camp. I just got to the second camp, so I'm slowly getting there. Probably 8 or so
Hmm.
hours in, and I'm
Okay.
enjoying it. It's a good time. So yeah,
That game.
go ahead.
That was a game that I played too recently and beat. I mean, dear listeners, if you follow us on Twitter, you see whenever I beat a game because I post it. It's one that surprised me too. I played it first when it first came out, wasn't really digging it. Went back into it, and yeah, I mean, the language is still there. It's gory, but I don't know, man. I think it's a decent game. What's there is good. The gameplay is
Yeah,
really good, at least in my opinion.
I'm wondering if I've
But
been
yeah.
desensitized because I haven't. Maybe I'm just not hearing it as much. I don't know, but I haven't caught that the language is that crazy. I mean, there is
Oh,
some,
really?
but it's nothing that's like, again, maybe because I've heard you talk about it so much that I'm just expecting it
Hmm.
to be like every other word. And so, yeah, I don't know. It hasn't been something that's really stuck out to me, but that doesn't mean it's not there. It may just me that I'm not looking for it or listening
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
enough. So,
Yeah. I mean, there was a point where I just had to listen to podcasts and play through it, and was like, "Yeah, whatever." But
yeah, I don't like
I was
how they
taking
do
down hordes and
I
all
like
that.
the audio logs, but they're so loud out of the
Mhm.
stinking controller.
Yeah,
I'm like, you
yeah,
can't really turn
they
them
really
down
are.
either. I'm like, Hannah's like, what is that? I'm like, it's a log. I didn't even know I was picking it up. And I
Yeah,
can't
that's
stop it,
why
so
I
I'm putting
played
my
with
thumb over the
headphones.
speaker.
Yeah, you can control that volume though. I think if you hold down the PlayStation button and then
Maybe,
go to your sound and devices, I think.
probably.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah,
So
Days Gone. That's a thing.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that's kind of my main PlayStation focus other than what I'm about to talk about in VR. Again, VR is kind of a throw in.
Hmm.
Until I know Mike is really down with Control. I don't see myself getting it right away. That'll be maybe a Black Friday deal.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's what I'm gonna do too.
I think my next PlayStation game that I'm looking at buying is probably Borderlands. So I got some time
Okay.
carved out to try to get through Days Gone. So I've been playing that,
Hmm.
but my main PlayStation distractor, Fishing World Sim Pro Tour. Let's go.
What is this?
I saw a trailer for this game. I saw a trailer for this game probably a month ago, a couple weeks ago. Maybe on one of the Kind of Funny shows, they were laughing about it. But it's like it's a true sim. Like you're trying to like build up the ranks of like the fishing tour. Like you got to win all these tournaments. You got to get a certain amount of following if you're doing good in these different fishing tournaments. And I'm like, I like to fish. I don't get to fish outside as much, and I definitely don't get to fish with my boy Jeremy from back home. Like we grew up fishing and doing all this stuff together. So I was looking at it and it was on sale on PlayStation for like $16. And I'm like, I was looking at it. It said you can do like, you host like online tournaments. And I'm like, so I texted my buddy. I'm like, yo, this fishing game is on sale for like $16. We ought to both buy it, and then we'll just go fishing together. Like when we're back home, we'll put on the headset, we'll create a little tournament, we'll just go fishing and like talk about what we're catching. So I downloaded and caught like a catfish, and I caught a smallmouth bass, and I took screenshots and sent it to him. And I'm like, my first catch, like like a proud guy, and he's sending me like, oh, it's a beauty, all these different things. So we're having a good time with it. The creative player is kind of weak. There's not a lot of personal, you can't really personalize my fisherman too much, but it's peaceful. I felt when I was playing, I'm like, is this boring or is it peaceful? And since I had just started, I'm like, I'm going to go with peaceful. And so it's like I'm out in the water just trying to catch some fish, fighting them. I can put some sunflower seeds in my cheek and just kind of go at it. Open up the windows, get the smell. Maybe I'll go buy some fish and just let it, be around me so I'm getting that musk. But yeah, so my goal is for it to be a time to hang out with my boy from back home and get to do some fishing together. We'll see if it actually happens because we said we were going to do that with the division back in the day. But I'm in a different life. My schedule's way different now than it was back then. So I'm gaming more at the same time that he is. So yeah, I've been playing some Fishing World Sim Pro Tour. And
well, there you have it, dear listeners. Video games cause you to want to hang out with friends and fish, not be violent. You know what I'm saying?
It makes you want
to hang out.
I want to virtually hang out with my friends and fish instead of go out and do it in real life. I told my pastor that he's a big fisherman. I'm like, hey, pastor, you got to come over, man. I got this new fishing game. Since you don't invite me to go fish with you in real life, you can come and fish with me in my video games. Anyways, I've been playing that. Been playing a couple games over on the old Switch. Played Marvel Alliance 3. I've been talking about wanting to play that. And
what'd you think?
Dude, it's a lot of fun. I've been playing it I had my nephew, one of my nephews and 5 of my nieces were in town a week or so ago. And so I was like, man, I hope they come in time because we ordered them off of Best Buy. And I got them and I was playing them with my nephew and my 2 nieces now. We're only playing on friendly, and they don't really have any idea what they're doing. So against some of the bosses, we kind of struggled a little bit, even on friendly. But once I started playing by myself and kind of switching between the different characters, it was coming a little bit more easy, of course. But it's a lot of fun getting to try the different characters, their moves. I mean, all the character models look really good. So I'm not out of the first location, so I'm really not that far, maybe 2 hours or so.
Okay.
The intro kind of threw me off because I'm like, oh, kids, let's play this together. And they're like, oh, I want to be this person. I want to be this person. Well, you got to play for like an hour almost before you unlock most of the characters.
Really opens up.
So that was kind of a bummer for them because they all had their character where they wanted to be. But at this point, I'm getting a lot of those unlocked, and I'm really enjoying it. Have you got to play too much of it?
Oh yeah, that's another game that I beat actually in between recordings. It's cool. I want to know though. So, who's your favorite character that you've unlocked so far?
Let's think. I mean, the Miles Morales is a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of his character. I mean, I'm an Iron Man fan. I've used him some. Thor is a beast. I've kind of gone with some of the different, groupings for the bonuses. So I've done Spider-Gwen, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and then I'll throw in just some other rando because I haven't got them all. Or Venom, maybe. I think I had Venom at one point. My nephew was really digging Hulk, so I think the Hulk smash is a really, really good move if you've got a bunch of people around you. But probably Miles Morales just because he's just a cool character. I'm just down with Into the Spider-Verse and all that. So that's probably the one I've used as much as any. But I need to get back to it. But I've got distracted with Marvel Alliance 3 because I've been playing Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Let's talk about it, dude. Let's go.
I have no idea what I'm doing. If I'm being honest, I'm like,
this is your first Fire Emblem, right?
Yeah, it's like the first time I tried to play Persona 4, and I'm like, what is even happening?
Yeah.
Like, this is so Japanese. There's so much going on in the screen. I don't know, like, I knew it was turn-based and the combat and all that, and I hear they even simplified it, but it's still, I don't know what's good against what. I don't know, like, if it's like Pokemon where rock beats water, which beats fire, like I'm just kind of going at it and just hoping I'm doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The first battle took me a couple tries to kind of figure out where you're facing the other houses. So I finally beat that one. But the first like real battle or like practice battle, I kind of wiped them. So I felt good about that. So I'm starting to learn a little bit more of the strategy, finding some of the characters that I like. I don't know which ones I'm supposed to be recruiting yet. Like I know you can recruit from other houses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which ones I should be or what skills I should be looking for. I'm just kind of playing around. So I'm probably going to be doing a decent amount of research for this game just because it's so new to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just like really make a ton of wrong choices.
Mm-hmm.
So probably over the coming weeks, I'll be researching who should I be recruiting? How should I be spending my activity points? I'm just trying, do I need to be more balanced or should I be buffing up certain stats? It's all really new to me. And I feel like I could spend an hour just running around the school grounds, talking to people and doing all that. And I don't know if I should be doing that. The map is helpful, but also not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let me say, I'm enjoying it enough that I want to keep playing it, but we'll see if it really sinks its teeth in that makes me want to finish it because I know it's a long game. I'm trying to get into the story. I'm trying to learn all. A game like Fire Emblem probably has like 10 hours of introduction just to learn all the how, what you should be doing, all the combat methods, all of the what you should be doing with your activity points, how to build up your character, how to do training, how to do teaching. It's like to understand the systems is probably 10 hours. So I don't want to quit
there's a lot to
that, without getting to that point because I'm like, it's just a lot. And I don't know if I can commit it, but I want to. So I'm going to try to stay committed to it and to really power through one playthrough at least. I probably won't play more than one playthrough, even though I know that, again, it gives you a full-fledged story. But we'll see. One playthrough at a time, and we'll go from there. But so far, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep pressing on. But it is new. I'm about as green as can be when it comes to Fire Emblem. But
yeah, that was the thing that surprised me when I booted it up because I've heard people telling me about it that it plays a lot like Persona, and so when I got in there, I was like, wow, people weren't kidding. Like it breaks it down by days. There's a lot of moving gears with the game in terms of the monastery, how you can grow plants, you can build relationships with different characters. And I don't mean like dating relationships, although that is an aspect of Fire Emblem that's been there since I don't know how long. But I mean, just hanging out with other people in your houses, people in other houses, and doing all that. There's a lot to it. And like you said, you could spend an hour just running around the monastery. I did that earlier today, just running around, exploring, talking to people, trying to figure certain things out. Apparently, you can take people out to tea, which is a weird.
I've been cooking with people. I'm like, hey, let's grab dinner. I'm like, this is how I do discipleship and evangelism. Let's go.
There you go. That's how you do it, man. I took someone to tea and felt really awkward. I'm like, yeah, that's about how it'd be in real life. I don't like this. But and the thing about this too, that I would say you don't really have to worry about is that, because in previous games, you'd have the weapon triangle where if you had a sword, you'd want to use that to take down people that have axes. And so you'd be matching up certain units with other units. They didn't really do that with this one. It looks like it's similar to, what was it? Echoes, Fire Emblem Echoes.
I have no idea which, I don't.
3DS. It's one of the more recent ones. But yeah, it's streamlined in certain areas, but then I've seen how they've kind of added more stuff into it to not complicate it, but make it more complex. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know if I'm going to interact with all of these things, but I'm fishing in that one. So, hey, I guess I fished too this past week. But yeah, so which house did you pick? I know me and you had discussed it, but for the dear listeners, let's let them know.
Yeah, I was going to, the golden deer is the easy choice, but you beat me to it. And I'm like, okay, do we want to have something to talk about that is, we're just talking about the same story, or do we want to kind of bring some breath to that conversation? And once we start, if we get to do an episode, which I think we will be able to at some point in 6 months when I maybe beat the game. But, so I went with the Black Eagles because I read online that kind of is the most well-rounded, not well-rounded, but it kind of gives them broadest story. And so I'm like, if I'm going to play through it probably one time, I want the broadest story. I didn't really Blue Lions. They didn't really
Blue
appeal to
Lions,
me
yeah.
too much. Golden Deer, okay, they're dope, no doubt. But
Yep.
I went with the Black Eagles.
Right on. That's the one with Edelgard, right?
Yeah, she's a
White hair.
boss, dude.
She's pretty tough. She's pretty tough.
She's like my knockout. She's got more knockouts probably than any of my other characters.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Claude's kind of the same with me. I obviously went with Golden Deer, dear listeners, for no other reason but the show. But then I met Claude and then Lorenz, and I'm like, dude, these are actually really cool characters. So I'm feeling good about this. Claude's the same way on mine. Like his bow is just brutal out on the battlefield, just knocking down people left and right. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's nice to play a Fire Emblem game again, especially on the Switch, because you just have the portability of it. So we all know where I'm spending most of my time playing this game, docked on my TV, of course. What were you thinking, dear listeners? But yeah, it's good. I like it. I'm only about 5 hours in, so I feel like I can't really talk so much. It's like what you said. There's 10 hours really to kind of get all this setup going for the story, for the different mechanics, all these things going on. And so hopefully we'll be able to talk more in depth about it in the next episode. But my first impressions are I'm really, really digging the game. I want to play some more of it and kind of get a better feel of the different mechanics and just how the whole monastery looks. But yeah, cool beans. So some of the other games that I've been playing, of course, dear listeners, if you've been watching me, if you've been watching YouTube stuff, you've seen me play Super Metroid. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, except the game's just amazing. Can't believe it's on Super Nintendo. I've said that several times now if you guys have watched the videos. But yeah, go check it out. Go see me play through that. And the other game I started playing, this is a weird one to bring up. Even my students were like, you're playing that game? So I started Bully a couple weeks ago because it was just sitting on my PS4. I picked that up when it was on a sale a while back. And I think now I understand why people were bullies in high school, because it's kind of fun in a weird way. But it's a weird game. It is made by Rockstar. It doesn't really have a lot of the more questionable content that you see in games like Grand Theft Auto, which is nice. And I'm oddly enjoying the game. Like it's fun to me. And it's also clean. It's weird to see this kind of game come from Rockstar, but they're not completely incapable of doing this. The first Red Dead Redemption.
Didn't that game get banned in some countries?
I think it got banned overseas for like bullying or something like that, if I remember correctly. I can't remember.
They ban everything.
Yeah, they do ban everything. They've probably banned straws too, like California. But yeah, so Bully it's a weird game, but I'm playing it and it's fun. It's just fun to kind of go around and throw stink bombs at people from time to time and trip people with marbles and push people into trash cans. Like I said, I get why people were bullies now in high school. There's kind of a weird sixth sense of enjoyment out of it. But yeah, it's a thing. Hopefully I'll talk more about it, or hopefully I'll be able to talk more about it in the coming weeks and maybe even write an article about it and kind of talk about bullying and all that jazz. But yeah, it's an interesting game. It is an interesting game. Now, what have you been reading, man? You gotten into anything good lately?
Yeah, we've been, I preached this last Sunday, so been doing a lot of prep for that. Just both in quiet time, and I'm getting the opportunity to disciple a couple of different guys with one group, with a father and a son. We're going through the book of John, so that's been really good, kind of talking with them through that. But I'm reading a book, so I mentioned it last episode, just, man, getting into ministry and feeling just a total dependence on God and letting that be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to pray, but really being challenged in that and how I pray. And so I'm reading a book called Praying the Bible by Donald Whitney. And it's been good. Just kind of gives, the front end is talking about, our praying, like, we're not the problem. It's as much as really our method is the problem. Is we start saying, well, why did I fall asleep, or why did I forget what I was praying about, and why do I just feel like I'm being redundant? Why is praying so boring? Why do I just say the same thing over and over? He's like, it's not that we're praying for the same things necessarily, because the same things in life are often happening. So that's not a problem to pray for similar things that are going on in life. He said his real point is that it's our method. So he says, no, the problem is not you. No, some of us might be a part of the problem, but he's saying if we're really sincere in wanting to pray and growing that, it's not you, it's your method. If you have turned from living for yourself and your sin and have trusted Jesus Christ and his work to make you right with God, God has given you the Holy Spirit. And if you are seeking to live under the lordship of Jesus Christ and the authority of God's word, confessing known sin and fighting the lifelong tendency to sin instead of excusing it, then the problem of boredom and prayer is not you, but rather your method. The method of most Christians in prayer is to say the same old things about the same old things for 40 years, blah, 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 blah. But he really kind of begins to turn that on using scripture and specifically the Psalms as kind of our, not the meat of our prayers, but kind of giving us some direction in our prayer. And so he talks about, okay, you can pray it for as short as you need or as long as you need, multiple psalms, but kind of allowing, as you're looking at the psalms, whatever the psalm is bringing to mind, you go with that direction. So if the psalm is one of thanksgiving, okay, you can be going in a direction of giving thanks to the Lord. But as you see, if it's specific words, it's like, it's not supposed to tell you, and you're not supposed to be using the Psalms as, it's not for a knowledge growth. You're not praying the Psalms to memorize them or to learn really even what the Psalm is per se saying, but it's meant to give us direction and to get us thinking about different things as we pray. So, and because our life experiences are going to be brought out in what we're reading in those words, but it gives us kind of a different approach to that. And so, and he goes into more of that. I'm only about 4 or 5 chapters in, but it's been pretty good. It's kind of helped me get a little deeper in my prayer life and kind of, I don't want to say spice it up, because that's not the purpose of but helping me learn to pray better. Like we were doing a time of prayer in our, we had like a vision retreat as a staff this week, and really just flipping as we were praying, flipping through the Psalms and kind of reading and skimming and just seeing some things and seeing how God was bringing different prayers and thoughts to life as I was reading the word. It was an encouraging time. And so I'm excited to get to finish it as I'm trying to up and get more prayerful and saturate my life with prayer more. I wanted to kind of bring another aspect of that and study and, okay, what are some more methods? And so I've been enjoying, and I've been someone who's wanted to use the Bible in prayer, but didn't really know what that looked like. And so this is kind of giving me some legs to that.
Right on, man. Yeah, Donald S. Whitney is a really good author. He wrote this book on spiritual disciplines that so I had to. Did you get to read that?
Oh yeah, it's so good. I read it at seminary. It's so good.
That's when I read it too. It is really, really good. I knew he had this book, and I've been meaning to pick it up, but I never got around to it.
I think I bought like 4 of the spiritual discipline books that December after I read it for seminary and gave them away for Christmas because I thought it was so good.
Yep, it's pretty baller. It's pretty baller. I just went ahead and bought that Praying the Bible book because I'm like, I need to just go ahead and do it and read it. It's good stuff, man. So as far as what I've been reading, then I can talk a little bit more about that John Piper book, but I don't really have. I don't have a whole lot of good to say about it. Not that the book itself is bad. It's just very repetitive to the point where I'm like, okay, we're 6 to 7 chapters in, Granddaddy John Piper. We need to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit here. And it's, I get what he's doing. He's trying to get the reader to understand the importance of seeking the glory of God when it comes to reading the Bible and how that should lead you into worship and awe of God. And that is what our seeking should look like when we go to the Word. We shouldn't be going to Word just to get like more knowledge or to get puffed up or anything like that. We should be going to the Word to get God. And I totally get that and I agree with it. But you can only repeat that kind of sentiment so many times in so many different ways before I'm like, all right, dude, you're losing me. I'm sorry. So I'm going to push through. I usually try to get to about 50% of the way through a book before I decide whether or not I'm going to complete or decide if I'm going to abandon it or finish it. I should really change that rule now that I think about it. There's some terrible books that I push through. But yeah, I don't know. I'm waiting for it to click, but it hasn't. But in the meantime, I've also been going through the book of Proverbs, just trying to get through about 5 or so every other day. And just trying to really kind of sit on some of those and meditate on some of those and really think about what that looks like is just living life and living it in different areas of, ministry and the podcast and social media and all that jazz. And man, I got into Proverbs 13 and got to verse 3, and it just kicked me square in the teeth, man. And it says, the one who guards his mouth preserves his life. The one who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. Now, y'all know about my flippy floppies and how they have brought me to ruin many a time. And so it's not really kicking me in the teeth because of that. That was just for funniness. I guess I'm the only one laughing. So, okay, whatever. But that whole thing is something that I forget. I think everybody else forgets from time to time, that there's a time to talk and kind of speak in a certain moment. But I think 90% of the times that we open our mouths or we send a tweet out or something is a moment where we really don't need to be talking. And you see that so much, especially online, man. Now, I was trying to tell my students this. It doesn't matter if you post a tweet and then you delete it. The internet's forever. That tweet you posted is stored somewhere on a data bank. Or if you're someone that has a platform, someone screenshot it and they're going to use it against you, And it's just crazy how when you sit there and really meditate on that, how true that little piece of scripture is. The one who guards his mouth preserves his life. If you're not running your mouth, you'll be okay. You won't really, the people that are against you won't have really anything to throw back at you. But man, if you're running your mouth and talking a lot, then yeah, people are going to have a lot of ammo to throw back your way. And it might not even be warranted necessarily. I think there's times where we run our mouths and people need to use that stuff that we say to bring it back to us and be like, dude, you need to humble yourself. But man, the one who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. It's something I've been thinking a lot about, because I tend to get real mouthy whenever I'm frustrated or angry or something. And man, I had to really watch myself, and I'm thankful that I have some guys that will watch what I post online and let me know, like, hey, you're kind of stepping over the line a little bit. You need to back off. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, it hit me hard. I got 3 verses in, and that just made me stop right there, because I'm just thinking about how often, that I'm talking when I shouldn't or running my mouth, and then thinking about the ramifications of that. And am I really honoring God in doing this? Am I being a good example for the students that God's entrusted to me? Am I embarrassing my wife even? Am I bringing shame to maybe even the podcast? Just it's gotten me to think about it. Not to the point where I'm like afraid to talk, because I love talking, but it's just it really makes you really stop and think, man, about the stuff you say and the way you say it. And man, I just think that I think we all can kind of need to check ourselves from time to time with that verse there.
We get so caught up on I have to. Social media is such a thing. I have to be engaging. Like, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm more there for intake more than for outtake. But I try to be consistent that I'll probably tweet about video games and sports way more than anything that really matters. And it's not because I don't care about the things that matter, but I just don't want to be a part of the maybe toxicity. And not that everyone who is doing stuff online is. There's a lot of good stuff, and that's why I follow people, is because I want to have that intake and I want to learn from people. But there's a lot of I can't even count the amount of times that I've typed out something either in the group or on Facebook or on Twitter, and I'm like, you know what? Not worth it. And then I just close it, because it's like, again, if these were conversations and in real life, and not to say they're not in real life, but in person, okay, that'd be one thing. And I have those conversations with people, but man, it's hard, because we can send it out so quickly, and we don't always approach it to the same way. We don't treat our fingers in the same way that we treat our lips. But man, if we had an updated, this sounds bad, I don't mean it in a bad way, but like an updated version of the Bible, where instead of watching your lips, watching your fingers, because that's really where a lot of our speaking comes, is out of our fingers instead of our mouth. Like, man, how would we approach these things? So
yeah, man, it's like that verse where it says the tongue steers the direction of the ship, because it's like the rudder, man. With at one moment it praises God, and then the next moment it curses people made in the image of God. And it's like, man, if you think about it now in modern times, that verse might say something akin to, we lift our hands up to praise God, and the next minute we use them to strike down people online or something like that. Man, it's wild stuff, man.
What a world we live in.
It is a wild and crazy world. But dear listeners, thank you for being with us. We're not ending the show. I'm just saying thank you because I appreciate you guys. I need to stop doing that. So, man, let's get into the topic of the show here. Favorite games of 2019, dude. We've played a lot of games this year already. Some that came out this year, some that came out in years past. Finally getting caught up on some things. And, man, it's time to talk about which ones have kind of stood out to us this year, which ones that we've really enjoyed. I know this is kind of a thing with other podcasts that do gaming and stuff like that. I think Backlog Breakdown did this. Colin Moore already did that with his on SideQuest or Sacred Symbols or whichever one. But you haven't heard from us, and our opinion is really the only one that matters. So we're gonna
to our audience,
I just talked
I would
about
like to believe that.
I just brought a verse up that says, "Don't run your mouth," and here I am. Oh my gosh, Adam, take it away, man. Take it away. What's been one standout game for you this year that you've been?
Well, let me do this because I've got a couple games that I've played this year and were maybe even released on the Switch this year, but are older games. And so I'm going to kind of take them off of the table, maybe put them as honorable mention or games that I've really enjoyed, but thinking mainly of games that were made this year, released this year. So played Cuphead on the Switch, Hollow Knight on the Switch.
Man, Cuphead can just go disappear off a cliff.
You know what I'm even going to say? I'm even going to go and put this one out there too. Borderlands 2 VR. Same game, just different method. Those are three games that I've played a lot of and that I've really enjoyed. Like, if we were thinking of, if I was just any games that I've played this year, Cuphead would probably be top 5, Hollow Knight would probably be top 5, and Borderlands 2 VR is top 10. And I've really enjoyed them, but those are older, not even necessarily old games. Borderlands 2 is, but Cuphead and Hollow Knight are last year games, or even 2 years maybe for Cuphead, but they just came to Switch and I just played them. So taking those off of the table, I'm not going to take one that I know that you really liked, but so I'll say one that really has stuck out. And I wish I would have played more, but the same thing happened with the first one. So Division 2 is a game that I've really enjoyed this year. Gotcha. I put a decent amount of time in. I played a lot with randos on the internet. I think me and you maybe played once, maybe twice. I know we played at least once together, maybe twice.
Yeah, at least once, for sure.
I got involved with the group, but what this game did, it did a couple things. I really enjoyed it. I had a blast. Like I said, I wish I would have played more. It kind of came at a tough time where I was playing it. I was back in Cedarville, but we were in the process of getting ready to move, and then we moved. And I basically didn't play PlayStation for at least my PS4. I played my Vita and the Switch. I didn't play my PS4 for a month at least. And so that really halted my Division 2. And so when I got up to New York, I tried to get back into it and I never got back into it. And I didn't really have a group of people that I was playing with. So what that game showed me is I am not going to be a guy that plays multiplayer games. Like not looter, maybe looter shooter, but the games as a service.
Yeah, I know. What
that's never going to be me. And Division, I really enjoyed the first one. Played it with some friends a couple times. I talked about my friend Jeremy. We got into that with the Division 1. Now I was trying to get him to get Division 2, but again, it's just hard finding those times and to have large chunks. Like when I play, it's kind of spur of the moment. And so I really enjoyed the Division 2. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a good challenge. I thought the gameplay is great. They kept adding to it. But so as much as I enjoyed it and I played it, man, I could have played it more. And it just showed me that games as a service is just probably going to never be a genre for me. Now, what's interesting, we'll see how this plays out with Borderlands 3. Because it's not a games as a service, but it is a game that a ton of people will be playing. Yeah. And it is meant to really be played in multiplayer to some degree. I mean, you can play it single player, but it's so much better in multiplayer. So I'm wondering if that game will be different. If that will be one where I'm able to connect more with people, because people will have 2 or 3 characters going at the same time, and they'll have one that they can say, hey, what level are you? I've probably got a character in that realm, and they can play with me, because people that love Borderlands are crazy. So
yeah,
we'll see how if that changes my ability to play with other people. But one of the games I have, probably one of my favorite games of the year so far, has been Division 2. Not my favorite, but one of them.
Yeah, definitely a standout, and it's gotten a lot of good reception too. I've got a buddy that's put in I think over 800 hours into the game.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's nuts.
Dude loves him some Division 2. He's constantly been trying to get me to play it, and I'm like, nope, because I'm the same way. I can't get into him anymore. I'm gonna try to get back into Destiny 2 to get ready for Shadowkeep, but I don't. Just ain't nobody got time for it anymore, man. Just don't got time for it. One of my standouts, and this should come as no surprise to anybody, it's a great game, great example of how you remake a game, and that's Resident Evil 2 Remake, man. I still think about that game from time to time. It's so stinking good. I mean, obviously, because I got the Platinum Trophy for it, it means that I really enjoyed the game. But I was thinking about it this week, actually, as we were kind of getting ready for this episode. I was like, should I download that back to my PlayStation and play it a little bit just to kind of goof around and mess around? Because, oh, man.
Because you got all those cheat codes and stuff like that in the DLC or something like that, where if you beat it or platinumed it or something, you had all the unlockables. So you just run around with a rocket launcher.
Well, I didn't get the rocket launcher through legitimate means. I bought the thing that Capcom put out where it unlocked it for you. I'm like, cool, I'm going to do that. So I'm just running around with the infinite ammo rocket launcher. I did that after I first got it and scared Mr. X. He really does run away from you. Maybe not run away. He walks away from you when you aim it at him because he's like, I ain't messing with that. It's really cool. So yeah, it's a fun game to play, man. I know it's not for everyone because it is kind of more on it is more on the morbid side with the zombies and how they're designed and all that. But man, that game is stinking fun. That's how you remake a game and then add in some goodies there to please longtime fans and to kind of give new fans a little bit, hey, this is the heritage. This is kind of what helped make the game so great. And man, it's cool. It's been one of my favorite games of the year, if not the favorite, because I still think about it. I still want to play it, and it's good. I still need to play the whatever those extra missions were they put out with the different characters.
Yeah. Here's my thoughts with Resident Evil 2. So 2 things. I think that so far this year, it has been not the best year ever for video games. I feel like it's been kind of slow. I don't feel like there's been a bunch of excellent games. Now there's been some good ones. Mario Maker 2, we'll get into that. We'll get into Fire Emblem. Some of these games more recently that come out, we're starting to get into the fall where the heavy hitters will, I think, start to come out. But up until this point, I'm looking at my list. There hasn't been a ton of must-buy games. I don't feel like that have really you have to get into this. But so that's one thought. Is I don't think the year has been super strong. But I do think that, like you said, this game has been made really well. And it's probably up until this point, it is probably the best game that I've played this year. And I've never played the year of dreams, people. No, I guess not year of firsts. Because I'm playing a bunch of games. And ever since we really started the podcast, I've played a ton of games that I would have never played if I wasn't doing this recording, if I wasn't a part of the group. And Resident Evil 2 is one of those games that I probably would have never played if it wasn't for the podcast. But I'm really glad I did. That game freaked me out in some ways. There's some good story bites in there. The gameplay is good. They did a great job with the graphics in that game. So I'm really glad that I did get back around to play it because like we said, the game is held up. Maybe it's the way they remastered it in some way helped it, hold up. But it's held up in some way or the other really well. And I'm really glad I've played it. But I think that says 2 things. I think they did a really good job with the game. But I also think it tells us man, why hasn't there been really another game that has really taken off? And like, because I don't feel like a remaster should be my favorite game so far this year, but there hasn't been anything that's really blown me out of the water yet.
Yeah, it's set the bar pretty high. It really has. That's crazy to think that a game from like man, when did that game come out? Was it 98, 99? I can't remember. It's crazy to think that a game from however many years ago is still kind of top dog of this year. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, so that was another one of my game. That's probably my top game so far this year. Another game that I've been playing. I know you've put a ton of time in this, and we've talked about it some on the last episode. But Super Mario Maker 2, I hinted at it just a second ago. But that game it's perfect for the Switch. It's perfect for quick play. Mm-hmm. Adding some of the new items, adding the new music, adding the new backgrounds, adding the Super Mario 3D World, all those things has made for a really excellent game. And I've kind of got distracted, maybe isn't the right word, but I've got sidetracked, or I haven't been able to get back to it. So maybe distracted is the right one, because of Marvel Alliance 3 and Fire Emblem. But I think I've beat the first 50 of the 100 pre-made levels, and I'm really, I mean, it's a really good game. Again, it made me want to go back to the originals in a way that I play some other games, like say you play a new Tomb Raider, you play a new Mario Party, you play something like a remake. Not usually is it saying like, oh man, I just really want to go back to the original. Usually we're like, wow, they've made this game so much better that like the nostalgia is there for the old one, but it doesn't make you always want to run back to it. Mario Maker makes me want to run back because the levels, while the creative levels are a lot of fun, it just really shows you how well done the originals were made. Of like, they thought through those levels so good in Super Mario World and Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario 1. They just did such a great job in creating those levels. Now, the user ones are crazy, and what people do with them is stinking nuts.
Yeah,
but
for sure,
there's nothing to like the properly paced, properly challenged level that Nintendo makes, not just to show all the things that you can do, but just to show you how well the level is made. And so I really enjoyed Mario Maker 2. I need to bust it back out. I need to find a window, but can't play every game constantly. And so I've kind of set it aside, but it's with the original Super Mario Maker, I played it and I'm like, it's on the Wii U. Okay, I'm selling this. I'm getting rid of it. But this will be a game that I'll keep it. I don't want to say forever, but I'll keep it for a long time. As long as I have a Nintendo Online subscription, I'll be keeping this game.
For sure. Yeah, that was another game that I had written down, man. It's so good. That's the one I beat the story mode recently. But man, with over 5 million levels, I saw somewhere online that they have on there now, and I'm sure that number's grown even higher since then. It's just endless content, man. You just never will run out of levels to play in that game. It's just the game. It's like the never-ending story, but it's like the never-ending game kind of thing. It's really, really good. Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. But I'll go ahead and throw out another pick that I had on there, and this one is Katana Zero. That's on the Nintendo Switch, and man, it's I don't really. There's not necessarily like. There's just a lot of things that make that game as good as it is. It feels good to play. The controls are really good. The way that you have to kind of really plan how you go through the levels to take down the enemies is just really, really smart. It's kind of that Hotline Miami thing a little bit. Kind of gameplay, if you ever played that, where you show up on the level, you go through and you take out these targets in a variety of ways, really. And it just gets you to think, and then you get to watch a replay of it, so you kind of get to see it in one fluid motion. And it's cool. The story is trippy as all get out. There's different endings to it too. I don't know if I got the good ending or the bad ending. I didn't really necessarily feel one way or the other when I got to the end. I was just kind of like, man, what did I just play? And it's a very unique game. I think it's probably the most unique kind of game that I played this year. And it's fun. It's not for everybody, because the story content, it does get kind of dark in some of its themes. And so it's not one that, I'd recommend it for like older audiences, but it's fun to play, man. I really enjoy that. It's one I want to go back through and play again and kind of make some different choices just to see what happens. But it plays really well. It plays smooth. It's so cool. The music's good. Just there's a lot of things going really, really well in that game. There's a part where the game changes a little bit in the gameplay of it not being a side scroller. So like it kind of is, but dear listeners, if you wind up playing it, you'll kind of understand what I mean when you get a motorcycle. But like, it's cool. It's just a cool game. Honestly, here's how I can describe this game. It's the John Wick of video games, is what it feels like when you're playing it.
It looks dope.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to call it that. It's the John Wick of video games. That's really what it is. It's what it feels like when you're playing it, except you're a samurai and you're not, using guns. But it's, like I said, cool game. I know I've repeated myself multiple times on this one, but like it's just cool. It's the best way I can put it. So Katana Zero would be another one of my picks.
Yeah, let's see here. Again, I don't feel like I'm far enough into Marvel Alliance 3 or Fire Emblems really. Now, I think the foundation is there for both of those games. On a fun level, Marvel Alliance is up there as I can already tell. It's going to be as much just pure fun as any game that I've probably played this year. Of like, yeah, it's simple. You're kind of just button mashing, and there's some strategy to how you combo your moves and whatnot. But that game's it's just fun. It's just simple fun in a lot of ways, and just the nostalgia and on the heels of Endgame. Who doesn't want to play more Avengers or
absolutely.
Marvel? So that game's there, and again, Fire Emblems. We'll see what's going on there. But I'm tempted to say Days Gone, just because I didn't go through the growing pains, like I said earlier, that game had early on. But I'm going to say Crash Team Racing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, I didn't do all the time trials, but I went through and I beat it all in normal. So I feel like they say that normal in this game is hard in the original. So I'm feeling like I accomplished something. And so I beat the game on normal through weeping and gnashing of teeth because that game was stinking. There were some levels that I probably played 50 times before I could get first place, because some of them are like their version of Rainbow Road or something like that. Man, it about broke me a couple times, and my controller and my television.
That crazy, huh?
But it was hard, but it was it wasn't what I was expecting. I never played the original. I was expecting more of just a fun kart racer that Hannah and I could play together, and it was about the opposite of that, because I said, "Oh, Hannah, I'm getting this kart racer game. We can play it together." And then as soon as I played it and heard what everybody was saying, I'm like, Hannah, I don't know if you're going to want to play this with me because of the drifting and stuff like that. So she didn't even try compared to Mario Kart where she got into it. And I don't blame her, because again, it was so hard.
Yeah.
But it looked great. The controls were tight. It was a different take for me than what I was used to than the Mario Kart, that kart racer. But it's a really well made game. And so in a year where I feel like, again, this says something probably about how I view the games that have been out this year. Again, I don't have a ton of high ones. I never played, and we haven't talked about this because I don't know if you played it. Did you play Sekiro?
For about 6 or 7 hours, and then I quit because it's too hard.
Because that's probably one of the games that a lot of people are going to really like, but it was so hard. I don't know how many people got that far, but that's probably, as I think about, okay, what are some of the games that I didn't play that were big? I know that is one of the big ones. And so I'm wondering, that Days Gone didn't get as, it wasn't as lights out as a lot of PlayStation exclusives were. So I just can't think of a lot of other new releases this year that I missed that were rated really well. So Crash Team's probably up there in my top 10 at least for new games this year that have been released. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what I need to play more of. Like I have it, and I just need to get through it, but I haven't done it. Outside of that one video I did for the YouTube channel, like that's really about as much as I played of the game. So I need to get back to it. So I can't really put it on there as one of my top favorite games of the year. I will put Ultimate Alliance up there though, for sure, because it's like you said, perfect timing for it with the end game coming out on Blu-ray and digital. And then if you got a Switch, I mean, the two just go together. You watch that, and then you go play it, so you can go kick Thanos around the galaxy, and you can go beat him up yourself. It's cool, and like the story, man. It does some things I was not expecting. I was like, because I kind of had a feeling it was going to do a few things, but then it did some of those things, and I'm like, okay, I didn't think you were actually going to go through with it. Dang, okay, so I see what you're doing now. But just the sheer amount of detail that went into the different characters and how their powers move, like it feels just like the other Ultimate Alliance games, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's good because you have that familiarity there, and then it changes things up a little bit with the mechanics with the ISO 8 system of equipping different gems to your characters to get different buffs. And man, the way that you do the Infinity Trials to unlock things or get more materials to flesh your characters out, man, I love how deep the game gets with its upgrade system, but even just the story was really good. It felt good. And it's cool to see some of these different characters that I've never even heard of. There was one that I used on my team a lot after I got her. What is it? Elsa Bloodstone. I've never heard of this character, but man, she's a powerhouse. I had her on my final team. I had her, Black Panther, Storm, and Deadpool was my final four team that I went through last quarter of the game with. And man, it's cool. It's such a fun game. The online works pretty well too. Like, man, I think it's a good game. And plus I can't wait for Cyclops and Colossus coming out at the end of the month for free. And then you got the Marvel Knights. That's a game I'll be playing quite a bit of, just over the next several months, just with the new characters too. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've really enjoyed that game. So, plus there's some characters that you unlock for your roster that I didn't know were there, but then I looked it up and I was like, oh, I didn't know that character's in there. Now I'm even more hyped to get this character. It just requires a ton of grinding, but it's cool, man. Dear listeners, when you figure it out, if you're playing it, it's a cool little hidden character. Oh man, it's so rad. But yeah, it's cool. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is definitely up there for me, for sure.
Well, before I think I can probably mention one more, but I want to just go looking at the games because I've been saying what games have there been. So I was just reviewing online. So Resident Evil 2, we talked about that. Kingdom Hearts 3 reviewed all right, but again, gameplay was fun. I have no idea what happened in the story. Just kind of Metro Exodus is a game that came out reviewed pretty well. Anthem, bust in many ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking at March, let's see here. Devil May Cry 5 was a big game. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, The Division 2. Yoshi's Crafted World, which reviewed okay, but you're not expecting that game to be game of the year.
Yeah.
Looking in April, you've got My Time in Portillo, World War Z, Katana Zero, Mortal Kombat 11, Days Gone there. Rage 2 in May, that's another one of the bigger games. There just haven't been, again, I'm having to search for where are the big killer games? And I just don't think we've had them. We talked about Crash Team, Mario Maker. It's really been, now there's a ton of good ones coming through the end of the year, but there really hasn't been a ton of them. And so that's why I'm like, man, why don't I have more answers? Well, it's a good year for the backlog because there hasn't been a ton to rush off to get distracted by.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know when this game came out. I think this game technically came out last year, so I'm kind of breaking my rules. So besides Days Gone, I already talked about that. I'm going to throw Tetris Effect in there. Again, that was a game I played last year, or I think it came out last year, but I really beat it earlier this year. Mm-hmm. Kind of in January and February. And so just a chill game to, as I was dabbling more and more into VR. It's a game, for me to keep a game, I have to think I'm going to get back to it, and I kept Tetris Effect. So I'm hoping to get back into that, and just, again, with VR games, you just kind of jump in for the, okay, 30, 45 minutes of getting into it. And so that game, the music, the visuals, I'm not even a Tetris guy, but I was like, wow, this game's a lot of fun.
pretty good.
So that's not one of my favorite. Like, it's number 10 on my top 10 if I'm looking at all the games that I've played this year, new or old. So it's not like I'm saying it's one of my favorites, but it is one of my top 10, probably, again, that I have played new or old so far this year.
Right on. Right on. I guess to round out my list, because on the notes here it's just a bunch of question marks, because I only had 4 games on there. I played Devil May Cry 5, and like if you're a fan of the series, it's a great return into form. But like it wasn't like, for me, it wasn't one that I was like, man, you all got to go play this game. It is the bomb.com. Like, it is so good. I mean, it's good if you're a Devil May Cry fan, but it's not like, I don't know. People are probably going to roast me for that, but so I think what I'm going to do for my last spot before we get to some listener responses, I'm just going to throw Super Metroid in there, because this is the first time. I mean, it's this year that I've managed to get as far as I am in the game, and I think I'm close to the end or getting there. So it's been a blast getting to play that, get further into the game, and see how it's just been. Like, I still can't believe that this game was on the Super Nintendo. It's so ahead of its time in a few different areas, and just the way it creates an atmosphere and it tells a story without using words. Like, it uses the environment to tell you a story. It's just smart design, man, through and through. And I said this in an episode, like, I'm sorry to Nintendo that people don't respect this series as much as they should, because I think it's one of the greats. But then again, I just love Metroid, so maybe I'm biased. I don't know, but it's really, really good. I really have been enjoying playing through the game. Now let's get into some listener responses, because we put it out on Twitter. It's one of the it was kind of a long time coming that I needed to get some responses from our listeners. I haven't done that in a long time. So I put the question out there, kind of what were some of your favorites for the year? And Micah Hendrick, our VR bro, he says Resident Evil 2. I mean, me and him, we did an episode on that together, dear listeners. You can go check that out. I'm trying to see if anybody else. Yeah, John Layola says that as well. Resident Evil 2 gets his pick. He says Kingdom Hearts 3 gets not just his most disappointing game of 2019, but of all time.
Dude, chill out. It wasn't that bad. It's just Kingdom Hearts.
He says it was pretty. He says it didn't live up to
the gameplay was fun. The gameplay, the graphics were great. Again, I just had the last 4 hours of that game. I didn't even care about the story because I had no idea what was happening. I was going to finish it because the gameplay was fun enough, and there was some button mashing, I guess. But I don't know what happened in that story. But the gameplay was still fun enough for me to put 20 hours in it.
Yeah, okay. That's a very polarizing game, I've noticed.
Rejected.
But then you got Joshua Taylor here, who said Kingdom Hearts 3 is one of his, Mario Maker 2, Crash Team Racing. But he mentions that's probably going to change before the end of the year. Yeah, definitely. You got Luigi's Mansion 3 coming out. You got Pokemon. You got new Call of Duty. You got a lot of games coming out. LJ Lowry says, so far it's been Splitgate, Arena Warfare, and Mordhau for me, though RE2 and Devil May Cry are high on my list. The first two I haven't heard of, so I'm going to have to go look those up.
Splitgate's like Halo meets Portal.
Interested now. That sounds cool.
They did a Let's Play on Kind of Funny back in the day.
I'll go check that out. See, I might get into that. Our editor Skinner says Super Mario RPG. He's been playing through that. We've been talking about that in the Discord for patrons. And then our boy Henshin Dad says Super Mario Maker 2 is really hard to beat. Countless amount of 2D Mario levels and having it on a portable system. Yes, please. Hashtag poop and play. He didn't put the hashtag. I did, because it's just the Switch is perfect for all that stuff. So yeah, it's funny how you say, there's not a lot of games that came out that really, did some things. But man, when you look at the responses, it's like they're all the same. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily. We all enjoy great games, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. Maybe this year has been more light than what I thought. But oh well, that's okay.
That's not okay. A bad thing, because it allows us to play like Mario RPG, Super Metroid. Just because big games haven't come out doesn't mean that we haven't got to play good games. Again, that's why because there haven't been a lot of huge games. I played Cuphead, I played Hollow Knight, I played some of these games that I've been waiting for. So and those are really, really good games. It's just not games that necessarily came out in 2019.
Right. Yeah. Quantity or quality over quantity, man. Some of those games we play are just great standouts. We already talked about them. So, dear listeners, if you maybe missed that tweet, let us know what your favorite games of 2019 are at TRG Podcast or in the Facebook group or in the Facebook page. But it's the second episode of the month. And so what we do on the second episode of the month is we thank. Words are hard. We thank our patrons, our lovely dear patrons that support us over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. I just want to shout you guys out. Thank you guys for supporting us and allowing us to do what we do and grow in a lot of different ways as well with YouTube and games and just a lot of different ways. You guys, your support is great and it doesn't go unnoticed. And those dear patrons are Alex Castellanos, Andrew Steedman, you're a new one as well. Shout out to the With Reverence and Awesome dudes. Austin Goudot, Caleb Schmidt, Christopher Commander, Cole Loftus is another new one, man. Thank you for your support. Colin Gregory, David Matthews, Derek Smith, Eric Bryant, Gareth Evans, Jake Walker, Jeff Wofford, Jesse Penu, Joanne Monroe, also a new patron. Thank you for that. You've been interacting with us on Twitter. Awesome stuff. Josh Broccolo, Kiefer Winborn, Clay Brandon, Luke Kelly, Luke Strain, Mark Fromey, Matthew McDougall, Micah Hendrick, Michael Toller, Nate McKeever, Ryan 1701E, the Jet Islander Podcast, Wesley Ray, Xavier Medina. Thank you for helping me out with your name, by the way. You messaged me and you were so gracious. Man, dear listeners, seriously, thank you guys for supporting us. Like, I was looking at this the other day when we got, I think it was after Cole pledged to us, and I was like, man, dude, like, it's cool to see people support us in a variety of ways. I saw we got a new review on iTunes from Isaacalistic, I think was his username. Thank you for that review. Well, very kind words. It's just, dear listeners, that's the thing. If you want to support us financially, you can do that at Patreon. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. It gets you extra perks like unedited versions of our podcast, so you really get to hear how I mess up all my words. You get behind the scenes stuff. You get Patreon, Discord. So like, there's a lot of stuff that goes with it. If you want to support us over there, you can. You don't have to. And if you don't, if you don't have the means to do that, that's fine. I would ask that you go to iTunes or Google Play or whichever podcast catcher you use and just leave a good review. So that way you kind of let people know about the show and things of that nature. And thank you to all of you guys that have been retweeting our stuff, interacting with us on Twitter and doing all, like, it's like when I took stock of this the other day of kind of how the podcast has grown just over the past couple months, it's blown my stinking mind. At the beginning of the year, we had 500 followers on Twitter. Here we are about to end August and we have over 800. Like, that's crazy. Patreon's been growing. The website's been growing. YouTube's been growing. 300 subs on there. Dude, God's good. You know what I'm saying? God's good. Thank you guys for allowing us to make this content for you guys and hopefully being able to edify you guys and, I don't know, maybe get rid of some anxiety if you have anxiety about speaking, because we all know that words are hard. All right, I'm going to stop talking before I get too gushy and start crying. So, some recos. Dear listeners, here's some things you should check out this week. Adam, man, what should the dear listeners check out?
Yeah, this is something that I didn't really deem it as a game that we should talk about, but it was some DLC that was released. So the Lilith Commander DLC for Borderlands 2, if you got that, I played through it. It was a lot of fun. You can kind of jump in. I think I mentioned it maybe in the last podcast, but something worth checking out if you're into Borderlands. But something else on Netflix, talking about media, social media, the internet. There's a documentary called, I think it's Hack or Hacked. And it talks about kind of how this company used Facebook and social media to kind of tilt the election or something like that. It's not so much about it's about the election, but it's just like how data mining and they do all this different stuff and use our information to kind of affect people. It was pretty interesting. You don't have to be I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's just amazing what people are like, oh, don't do the old person face app. I'm like, listen,
I
people,
heard about that.
They have all of our information. They have everything they need on us. They don't need to take your picture to have everything. If you have any social media account, they have anything that they want of yours. And that documentary really proved it. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I saw someone post on Facebook the other day that they were like, oh, here's me saying, I don't give Facebook my consent to take my pictures and use it for this. I'm like, you already agreed to that in the terms of service. You making a post about it isn't going to
does
disregard
nothing.
that. So
Those are the funniest things in the world. I'm like, are you kidding me? You think that that's doing anything?
yep. And it's someone that's around our age. I'm like, you should know better. We grew
You
up
should
with
know
this stuff.
better.
Anyway, I don't want to shame that person. So my recos then are going to be, if you somehow haven't listened to this album by now, you need to get on it. The Search by NF, it's so good. I remember saying in the group, I didn't think I was going to have this album on repeat because NF gets real with his stuff. He gets heavy with it. It was on repeat for the next 2 weeks. I'm like, dude, this guy is on a whole other level when it comes to his lyrics, his beats. It's such a good album, man. It's incredible. So The Search by NF. And then if you don't like rap for whatever reason, you go check out Eclipse by Wolves at the Gate. That's another just phenomenal album that came out over the summer. And man, it's a good, like, July was a great month. We got 2 new great albums from 2 great artists. We got Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. We got Fire Emblem. You got Endgame that came out on digital like at the end of the month. You got Alita. You got Shazam. It was just a good month, dude. July was a great month this year. So if you guys are missing out on any of that content, get on it. Get on it, man. So yeah, here's our recos. Dear listeners, thank you for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. As always, if you would like to support us, we already kind of talked about Patreon. So again, patreon.com/TheReformedGamers. You don't have to, but if you want to, it's there. And then go follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/TheReformedGamers. Check out the Super Metroid series. Check out our first look at Super Mario Maker 2. Got some videos up there of some of the different games that we talked about that were our favorites this year. Go over to the website, thereformedgamers.com. Check out that fancy new banner with the featured articles and things like that. Go listen to some of our previous episodes, like Resident Evil movies with Melvin, which is, oh man, those movies were terrible. I still have nightmares of them. Not because they were scary, but because they were just really bad. But as always, you can follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast. You can like our Facebook page. You can join the Facebook group if you want to hang out with other dear listeners. And you can also follow us on Instagram at The Reformed Gamers on there as well. But dear listeners, again, thank you again for all that you do. Thank you for supporting us in the variety of ways that you do. Greatly appreciate it. And until next time, GG and amen. Thank you for listening to The Reformed Gamers, the show all about biblical theology and gaming. The reason the show sounds so good inside your ears is because TRG is edited by David Skinner. You can find extra content on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/TheReformedGamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over at patreon.com/TheReformedGamers by our dear patrons. The following people are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked and mentioned here at the end of the show, as long as their pledge comes through each month. Those people are Alex Castellanos, David Matthews, Eric Bryant, Gareth Evans, Luke Strain, the Jet Islander Podcast, and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support over on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and fueling my addictive habit of getting platinum trophies. Until next time, GG and amen.